Hey team, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we will learn about the output decorator. We will see the child component raise an event and the parent receive data from the child component. As you can see here, the output decorator allows the child component to send data to the parent. But how does it do this? Well, the output decorator is linked to events that can be used to listen for data changes. In this example, the color picker raises a change event. That is the data change. The emit method triggers the custom event associated with the event emitter, providing the listener in the parent component with the object and the value that was sent through the emit function. Here is the HTML of app component HTML. That is the parent. And a thing I want to point out right away is this template reference variable. Now we'll be using this to change the color of this div. And I just want you to know that this is the one key that makes that work. Let's display parent and then app component. And then I create another div. And notice that has dots around it, and I make the background light gray. Then inside of that div, I embed app color picker. That is my child component. Now on line 12, this guy right here, the color change event, that is defined in our child component with the notation at output. On line 16 and 17 is where the child component defines the event emitter. In this case, that event will go by the name color change event, and it will be known by both the parent and child components. When applicable, the child component will raise this event, and the parent will attach to this event, and the child component can then transfer data. Notice that I have an input type color, and I'm calling it color picker. Let's see what that looks like. You can see here inside of the child component, I have this little box here, and that is input type equals color. Now when I select that, notice that this color picker shows up. Now you'll also notice here that when I do a change, I'm going to call a method color picker changed event. And I have two-way binding to a model, learn model selected color. So when I change a color, the value is going to be updated, and then this event will fire. So let's go and pick a color. We'll do blue. And then when I step away from there, notice that my parent turned blue. Just a moment ago, I told you that color picker changed event would fire. Notice on line 16, add output, the function, color change event, and then emit. Because we're doing a new event emitter, this will raise an event so the parent can see that. Then notice here, I'm sending this value, and this is actually an object learn model. Let's dive more into that. Learn model is of type iLesson. iLesson is an interface. To create an interface, open up a new terminal and then type in ng generate interface iLesson. And what will happen is it will go create this file. You just then have to come and add this one property. Selected color, and its data type is string. Back in the color picker or child control, notice that I'm declaring an object learn model. It's going to be of type iLesson, the interface we just created. And notice our one property selected color. That is going to be assigned the initial value default color. And I assign that on line 10. Default color is data type is string, and here is the value. Now that the color picker changed event fired, I'm now going to emit to color change event, and that is in our parent. As you can see here, we are looking at the parent control app component.html. Now, the child just raised an event. At output, raise the event, color changed event in the child component. Now the parent app component was listening. Now color change event is what I was looking for. So then it's going to hand that over to change background color, and $event is going to actually have the value. and that will satisfy the request. I'm now going to emit to color change event, and that is in our parent. Notice here, we're now looking at our parent, and then the method change background color. Notice it gets RGB, and that is of type iLesson. Now earlier I told you, let's remember the template reference, and that is div parent. I'll show that to you one more time. Pound div parent is this line right here, and notice that we're using view child, and then I'm saying underscore div1 exclamation, and then element ref. Notice that we have to declare view child, element ref, and they're from core, and then we have to import iLesson as well. So now we have our div parent lined up in underscore div1. I can use that. Now in that change color, remember that color came back to the parent. Now I say let element equals this dot dev1, that whole div, native element. That's assigned to element. Then I'm going to say element dot style dot background color equals RGB dot selected color. Remember, RGB is an object of type iLesson. This is just one of the properties. Right now I only have one, but I could have many. And that is the code for the output decorator. Let's debug this project. Notice I have my program running up here, and then I have DevTools open up in this other window, and I've got some breakpoints selected. So let's run it. Let's see what happens. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a new color. I'm going to come down here and say something in the blue range. I'm going to click that blue. Now when I step off of this color picker control, it's actually going to raise an event called changed. Now notice that function is called color picker changed event. And how do I know that? Well, notice here on the change color picker changed event, that's the event that got called because this color picker has a new value now. So now notice while I'm in there, I'm actually going to be using the event color change event, and we define that up here on the output decorator. And this is of type event emitter, and notice the data type that I'll be sending through there is a interface iLesson. So here I'm going to keep popping that up, and we'll hit run. And notice I'm now in the parent. In this case it's called app component TS, and notice I'm using the function change background color. Now why did it use that? Well, if I look at where it came into, this is my child control. Notice that it says if you see this event come through, change color event, I want you to handle it with change background color and whatever he sent through. So when we look at our code, remember that change back. Notice change back, and here is our argument list. Now that is the value that we selected from that color picker. Now the first thing I'll do inside this method is I will go get the div. And how do I get that div? Well, I'm using a view child, and that view child is saying, where's div parent? If I go look at the HTML on that, on the component parent, notice that I have pound div parent. Well, we know that's the template reference variable. And while I'm in my component, that is how I can use that control. Notice I'm assigning that to underscore div1. I then use this dot div1 native element. I assign that to a variable called element. And then using element, I say element.style.background color equals that RGB value. Now, in just a moment, when we continue here, this color, this blue, see this white area? It will turn blue. Let's run this. And there it is. The output decorator having a child component raise an event and the parent component receive data. Now, this is a very important feature of Angular, you have to admit. Something you must master. If you have any questions, please leave them below. And thank you for taking the time to view this video on my channel. I really do appreciate your support. So this is the end of this video. I cannot wait to see you again in my next. Adios.